Hi, welcome to Global Warping. Today we aim to show you from this garden chair the truth about global warping. Not what Tony Blair wants to tell you so he can charge a better tax. No, we're going to show you the reality. But first, let's find out how big global warming really is. Now to do this, I've come to see Matt. Matt doesn't know much, but what he does know is how to use a computer. And what Matt's going to do, he's going to do a search for global warming on Google. So Matt, how many hits do we get?
Well, if we have a look here, there are 75 million hits for global warming itself.
So that means that people care about global warming so much, they've built 75 million web pages.
That's what it basically means, yes.
Now I've got a car, and I quite like cheap petrol, so see if you can do a search for cheap petrol, see how much people care about that.
Well, obviously cheap petrol is a very, sought after thing, but there are only 1 million web pages for cheap petrol prices.
So that means people care more about global warming than they do about paying less than a fiver to get to work.
Exactly, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's just weird. It's a generally accepted fact that the ice caps are melting. And most people, including Gordon Brown, would tell you that this is due to global warming. But I'm not so sure. The sheer physics of it to me don't quite add up. You see, water freezes here at 0 degrees Celsius, whereas the ice caps, the general temperature is around here at minus 37. Now, I've been told that the Earth will heat up by a maximum of 6 degrees. 37 minus 6 is round about here at minus 31. That's still 31 degrees underneath the magic thawing temperature. Something here isn't quite right.
We set up this experiment to see if ice would melt at minus 31 degrees Celsius. It didn't. As we can see, it is still very much frozen. Clearly, global warming here isn't to blame.
So if global warming isn't causing the ice caps to melt, then something else must be. But what? This animal may look pretty harmless, but this little creature is doing more damage to the ice caps than George Bush, India and China's oppressive government put together. This is mammoth theory.
In prehistoric times, woolly mammoths roamed the earth. They roamed with authority and with really big tusks. But there are no mammoths alive today. Nobody goes to Tesco scared they're going to be stomped to death by a 3-metre tall hairy elephant. No. So at some point in the last few thousand years, they all must have died. Now if these mammoths are roaming the earth, some of them would have died in the Arctic. And they would have been encased in ice, perfectly preserved for thousands and thousands of years. This got us thinking. Maybe it was the mammoths causing the ice to melt. We found a huge block of ice with a mammoth encased inside it and decided to set up this little experiment. Here is the block of ice melting. We can see the mammoth inside it. Whereas this next lump of ice is just ice. And nothing's happened to it. It's been there for 5 hours, it's still frozen. But this mammoth, within seconds, had thawed out this huge block of ice. But of course, one little experiment isn't enough for scientific proof, so we decided to make it official.
We've come here to a top secret British research facility just outside Ipswich to see if we can find out whether ice absorbs heat. We're going to try and find this out by setting fire to it. So, if our resident fire expert just slowly brings in his lighted torch, we'll see how well ice will absorb heat. Not that well. So obviously, ice isn't melting by absorbing heat. When we finished that experiment, we knew then that it wasn't the ice absorbing the heat that was causing the ice caps to melt. There must have been something else. Now we knew already that there were mammoths encased in the Arctic ice, so maybe the mammoths were absorbing the heat and causing the ice around them to melt. Well, to find out for sure, we decided to run that experiment again, only rather than using ice, we were going to try and set fire to an adult woolly mammoth. This had never been done before, but we knew that if this mammoth caught fire, it would be these animals causing the ice caps to melt. This is what happened.